Yeah.
All right, how's everybody doing today? You guys enjoying Create so far? All right, raise your hand if Sheets was your favorite launch. All right, let's just be honest. Raise your hand if Canva Code was your favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Woo! All right.
That's amazing.
My name's Jason Wilmot, so I lead public sector here at Canva. That includes education, government, healthcare, not-for-profits. I've been in ed tech for over 20 years, high school football coach for over 15 years. I am super excited to be here with Rob and Harmony. I will let Rob introduce himself, then Harmony. Rob?
Sure. Rob Dixon, Chief Information Officer for Wichita Public Schools. I've been in education 26 years. Prior to that, I was in the Air Force, and I get to oversee our virtual schools, our micro schools that we have in Wichita. I actually got to start the micro school this last year. So super excited to be here, and I've got 3 amazing daughters in their 20s, so I understand what patience is like.
Good morning, or actually, gosh, is it still morning? It's good afternoon. Harmony Briscoe, I'm the Director of Ed Tech for Irvine Unified School District. So we have about 40,000 students, K-12, about 50 school sites, and sitting as the Director of Ed Tech, it is supporting all of those 40,000 students and all the staff who support those students. I got to be a teacher though, that's what I really am, right? Taught every grade, K through 8 pretty much. Took a stab at high school, was like, I really like elementary. So became an elementary school principal, and that was a pretty fun job. And now an ed tech director for the last 6 years, so a little over 20 years total in education. And I am pregnant with baby number 5.
Ooh.
So I also know, I think, what patience is, but super happy to be here today.
That's awesome.
All right, well, let's sit down here. So before we get started, show me a raise of hands. How many teachers, ex-teachers do we have in the audience? Raise your hand high, give me a holler.
Yay.
All right. How many parents we've got in the audience? Parents.
Woohoo.
All right. How many enterprise commercial customers we have in the audience? Because you will learn too. Let's go. All right. All right. Well, we're going to get started today, and we're going to take you through a journey. So we're going to take you through a journey between administrators, teachers, and parents, and students, and really think thoughtfully around how Canva is being used at each stage. But I also want to set the stage of Canva for Education has over 100 million monthly active users. Like, put that in perspective for a second. Over 12,000 school districts in the United States have connected with Canva and have deployed it. And this is across the entire institution, from the admin to the teachers to the staff. So huge milestones for the Canva team, but it couldn't be possible without all of you and without Rob and Harmony. So the first question I'm going to ask Rob here. Rob, how has the adoption of Canva impacted administration tasks, such as communication, professional development, materials, maybe even budgeting? Talk to me about that a little bit.
You know, I think for our administrators, they deal with so many different decisions, right? They get decision fatigue throughout their day. One of the most amazing things about Canva is it's not like a PDF. It's not in their email where they have to go find it. We publish our secondary scoop that you see here in the graphic, and it's a website. And what we can deliver on that is video, data. What we love to think about for our principals, what are the 5 things you need to think about in your day? And that's what we deliver to our principals with each secondary and elementary scoop. And so for them, it's huge in helping their practice, their daily practice of being a principal and not having to scour across 1,000 Power BI dashboards, or this email is stuck here, or this document is stuck there.
That's amazing, Rob. So newsletters are going out through websites. I know for one, any newsletter that I get an email, sometimes it gets lost and deleted. So what an amazing space for your staff to go to and keep up to date on what's happening. So Harmony, talk to me a little bit about how adoption of Canva has really supported you from a staff perspective.
So from a staff perspective, especially in my particular role, it's the school sites as much as all the departments surrounding them, right? So how does our communications team leverage it to communicate with our community? Super, super huge, right? Everything from the social media posts to a video kind of enhancing the latest program that we are doing. So we're telling the story, right? We're in control of that narrative of what's happening in our school district. But just the other day, right, we talked about Flourish.
Yep.
I'm super excited about this. Our facilities department, for example, this is the first time in over 8 years that Irvine will be declining in enrollment. That's a pretty big deal because that changes your ADA, right? The money that you can have to support your students. And we've got to be able to tell that story very accurately, transparently, but in a way that is clear, right? And so Flourish allows from that data overlays, that visual storytelling that we can post publicly, and we can take the public CDA data, see how grade level data has changed, like heat overlays by area. That's huge. And by the way, is that for free? Yeah, it's in Canva. It's pretty wild, right? So this is just an example, but I can keep on going. It's pretty phenomenal.
I love that. I love that. So, Rob, talk to me a little about from an administration perspective. Obviously, AI is pretty new. It's been around the market for, say, 18 months at its scale.
Yep.
What AI tips and tricks do you share with your staff that you may share with us? Or how do you use AI in your daily world today?
Yeah, so we've been pretty aggressive on creating an AI policy and guidelines for our staff. I would say from a tool standpoint, we always start with Magic Write just because it's easy. There's a bit of a transformation that happens when you say, you introduce this tool to an administrator or a teacher and you say, all right, just with this prompt, I could create all of this content that is usable every day. And so when I think of my principals, for them, it's taking that task away from their admin assistant, or it's enabling their admin assistant to do things far greater than what they could before. And task management in that becomes a feat that they can now secure within their day, that something that they would have to do after hours many times or work long hours. Now there's a huge amount of efficiency that comes out of utilizing tools like this, and I'm super excited for what was released today. I think that's going to blow our staff's minds.
All right, fun fact. Rob texted me mid-presentation this morning. He actually coded his own app in Canva code while it was going on. I was like, oh, of course Rob did. That was amazing. Yeah. Very, very cool, Rob. Now, Harmony, similar question, like what tip or trick within Canva or AI has really helped your staff lately?
I'm gonna go a safety route, right?
Okay.
When we have students who are minors, right, especially in a K-12 school district, more than half of our students are under 13, right? They're little guys. And safety is huge.
Yep.
And right now in the world of AI specifically, so I won't say efficiency since you already hit that, but I'll talk about safety because it's a struggle for our leaders to make sure we're getting equitable access to this age group, right? But that's done with robustness as much as safety. Canva's AI components, they're age appropriate. Like we can release AI to our little guys yesterday, right away, safe. And we're able to recommend it to our leaders who are talking to their teachers and talking to their students and talking to their parents about this is the safe place for us to get started and understanding what this technology is and how it can enhance the learning and teaching in the classroom.
I love that example. Thank you, Rob and Harmony. So as we move on the spectrum, teachers. My wife is a 20-year teacher. She's scared of technology. I've been in ed tech for 20 years. She's always like, Jason, I do not want to talk about ed tech at home. I'm an elementary school teacher. There's no place for it. Don't worry, I've got her moved along in the scope of things. But as it relates to how do we support teachers? And Harmony, I'll start with you. How do you support teachers like my wife who may be hesitant to adopt just a new digital tool, especially with those that don't have a lot of technology experience? What does that look like?
The teachers who raised their hand earlier, how many of you have enough time to do everything you need to do? Yeah, I'm glad you laughed. Like it doesn't exist,
yeah.
Right? And it's not a 9-to-5 job. You're working into the hours. You're working Saturdays. You're working Sundays. And so sometimes it's not just I don't have the capacity, just technically. It's just I may not have the capacity, just physically, mentally. I've got so much going on. And I think what's super critical is when you're going to introduce something digital to enhance the environment, it cannot be another thing. Yep. It cannot be. Now add this to the already full plate that you have. It has to be intertwined as how does this solve or support what you're already doing? Hey, you know that differentiation work you're doing to support all students? Let me show you how this tool supports that. You're already doing that. So it's not another thing. It just does this better or more efficiently for you, right? So we have to always connect the dots for our teachers because there's too many other things that they are responsible for to make sure our kids have the best instruction. And Canva, by the way, it used to be, our teachers would be like, hey, go here to make the presentation in Google Slides, and then I want you to come here to make the image in this platform, and then I want you to come over here and get studio video of your, and then we can put it all together. Now it's like, go to this one place, right, and you can do it all. So you just kind of, it's accessible, right? It's like, I can do that. Yeah. That I can do.
I love that example. Now, Rob, in thinking through, I know you guys have, what, 55,000 students across Wichita Public Schools, what, 10,000 or so faculty, staff, give or take?
Yep.
In that range. So how have you rolled out Canva, and how do you, even beyond Canva, like really think through the deployment of these digital tools for your staff and teachers?
You know, one of the things that you have to think about is rostering and setting the right permissions. What I love about Canva, especially around our teachers, is it allows us to make decisions site by site. When you have as many diverse students as we have in our district, it's difficult to manage that with one platform. But what I love is the ability to really make each school their own brand, make each school have their own adoption of AI and Magic Write. All of those are possible within that interface. And I love what Harmony said, because when a teacher now, after they just announced that you could have one document that has both video, presentation, that really changes the game for a teacher in thinking about student portfolios and handing in assignments. Making that app today just blew my mind, thinking of what a teacher could do in their expectations, raising the level of a student's experience by saying, hey, you know, why don't you create an app as your hand-in for this homework assignment or this project? It really changes the game. It elevates a student's learning capability.
I love that. Now, in terms of brand kits and brand templates, audience, raise your hand if you use brand kits and templates. Raise it. All right, good. We got a bunch of people using it. But it's often seen as that's a marketing, that's an enterprise solution. Rob, do you use brand kits and templates around Wichita and like around your schools? Give me a little bit about that.
Every single school has their own brand kit. Our district has their own brand template. And what's awesome with that is it's there for the teacher. They don't have to go find it in some folder. It's not lost somewhere. They're not taking it off the website, which is a lower form of that file. And so for them, it's an easy experience. It's also there for our students if they want to use that brand there as well. And so it makes it more accessible for all of our kids.
I love that. Harmony, what about you?
Same thing with the school brand kits. That's super huge. And for us, it's also, right, you have your own mascot and color per school site, but then you have your district brand, right? So how do you make sure those can interplay consistently? Because a lot of times our parents sometimes don't realize there's a district. There is that Stonegate Elementary or that Spring. There's a district, right? And so how do you make sure they see that we're all part of the same team? This is a way to leverage it. And honestly, we just moved to a full district-wide integration. So we're like 6 months in on that front. And you know what was something super little and yet super impactful to help the branding? We did email signatures. Like, how do we brand everyone with a common email signature? And we also use Outlook for some of our email. Do you know what a nightmare it is to copy and paste a design into that Outlook template for your thing? It's so hard. But Canva was the first platform that let us do something as simple as that. And like that, 6,000 staff members had a call. You know what I mean? Like this is so fun.
Oh my
Just
God.
getting started.
I mean, digital signature is very simple, but it makes it fun, exciting. I can see the enthusiasm. I love it. And then finally, in terms of teachers, like talk to me a little bit about maybe one specific example, Rob, of a hesitant teacher. Like the one teacher that just wouldn't move to a digital tool. And talk to me a little about the strategies there for some of these folks in the room.
Yeah, so I'd say one of our highest need schools that we have, we're introducing this tool, and I remember it's been a couple summers ago where we were working with that staff, and this staff meets with our highest needs kids too. So a lot of accessibility needs there. And so just walking in and helping them say, all right, what kids do you have in your classroom and what needs do they have? And walking that through a conversation and then say, what do you need to teach next week? And then you help them and navigate them through a lesson plan now that is critiqued to their classroom, and you just see their eyes light up like nothing I've ever seen before. It's amazing to see how we can meet kids' needs in an efficient way, saving teachers time, but also providing an experience for that teacher that they know that they can replicate because they're staying in the same platform. That single platform is huge because especially with our staff with low digital literacy, like it's something that they can hold on to and it doesn't become fragmented.
I love that. Love that. Harmony, what about you? Any specific examples of
You know,
holdouts?
You know, I think in the post-pandemic world, we've had a lot of staff, right, who just resorted to, I just need to get to the quickest, easiest thing. And so there was a lot of like, I'll go buy something on TPT. Because it's really cute.
Yep.
And it's already pre-made, right? And it was so fascinating to work with some teachers who are like, oh, wait, I could do this here? Yeah, by the way, it's copyright compliant now.
Yeah.
It actually met all of your students' need, and it's still cute, right? You can tell on the elementary side of the house, for sure. But that is, that's huge for me. And I think your point about going back to highlighting, but what are the students' needs is critical, because I have not met a teacher who stays in the game who is not in it for the kids. That is why we exist. We would not be here without them, and they are all different. It doesn't matter if you're from an affluent area or a low socioeconomic area, they all have needs, and some of them hide it better than others. And when you give them a place, to your point,
Yep.
Jason, about like, hey, do you want to create an app? Is that how you can show me that you learned what I need you to learn? Do it. And now I've got a place to do it, because how many times I'll get the teachers like, how do we do a podcast? How do I, come here. You can do all of that right here.
I love that. Well, now let's move on to students a little bit. And as it relates to students, this first example I'm going to share it because it's actually my son's example. My son's in 8th grade middle school in Washington State. And in Washington State, we have a very indigenous community. We have lots of tribal nations up there. And in this exercise, my son came home from school, I think on a Monday, and I was like, what are you doing in Canva? Like, usually he's not in Canva, so I'm like, oh, okay, he's sitting down doing it. And in this exercise, he had to pick a tribe, and his teacher was like, I want you to go create shoes designed by the tribe. I want you to go create a marketing plan designed by the tribe. And this is one of his shoes he created, the special edition Cedar Feeder. Yes. I have never seen an 8th grader, well, at least my kid, for those parents out there, come home and work 2 hours every day after school on one project for a full week straight. Talk about engagement. Talk about like interested and enjoying it. Yeah. I actually did email the teacher. By the way, this was not my idea to use Canva. It was not my idea for a project. Full credit to the teacher. He used all of the AI tools in Canva. He designed his own shoe, and he used Magic Write to sell his shoe. And he did a collection of shoes all off the tribe. So a lot of the other shoes had wind, whales, totem poles. And you think about that as an 8th grader, he's learning about something that every 8th grader has to learn about in Washington State. I think I remember going through it, and I was told to write a 10-page document about it. I probably was really bored on it. And he came home and he was super excited about it every day. He was sharing it with his buddies. They were sharing each other's screens. It just was unbelievable about the engagement that it brought to students. And I know engagement has dropped in the classroom. And right, how do you get students in? And it was really cool to see a platform like Canva really engage those students. And so I wanted to share that example because Canva is not only a place where, yeah, we can do some serious learning, but you can also take a serious subject that they're learning and have a little bit of fun in it. So with that, Harmony, talk to me a little bit about how AI is actually being deployed in your classrooms across your district.
Yeah, again, the approach is not another thing, but safety first. So we have like a recommended, what we call our AI tools choice board, where we've done either vetting of the data privacy agreements or things like that, and said, and by the way, the freemium option is robust. Here you go. Canva's like at the top of that list, right, for our teachers to start using. And just because you told a story about your kiddo, I'd love to share one of mine.
Absolutely.
My oldest is 8 years old, 3rd grade, very precocious, very much the rule follower, and very thoughtful. He did do a pioneer project, right? And as part of this project, he needed to interview someone to learn about what school was like in the olden days. Do you know who you interviewed? My mom and dad. And hey, Gamma and Papa, can I interview about what school was like in the olden days? And because of the distance and the timing of the project to turn in, we weren't able to meet with Gamma and Papa in person, so he created a Canva presentation. And he's 8, right? So it was, what am I doing? Here's what I need to learn. Here are my questions, his 5 questions, right, that he crafted to understand. And then what he did, because my mom has some hearing difficulties, he recorded himself using the video recording tools in Canva and had that on each of his slides. And then using the editing tools, the magic editing tools, he was able to enhance the voice. He's 8. He then, I'm going to say that about 1 million times. And then he took the AI speed, he slowed it down so it'd be easy for Gamma to understand. And he's doing all this like high-tech industry standard video editing for an 8-year-old third grade project so that Gamma could help him with this piece. And he had no idea. I'm looking at, oh, by the way, I was talking about BG removals with you earlier, Kayla. He's like background removals on his video, so it's just his head floating, and he made it black and white, right? So it'd be like olden days. Phenomenal. And honestly, in the wake of AI, to your point about AI, one of the concerns I'm hearing from teachers is about them losing the ability to write, right? The skill, especially at the younger ages, right? We don't teach that. And yet, because he was videoing himself, his voice is clearly there, right? It's him. It's his belief. It's his understanding of the product. And as the teacher, you could tell pretty quickly. By the way, he was the only third grader that used anything like this. His teacher's like, could you teach us about Canva?
Oh my God.
He literally last week was teaching his class, teaching them how to use Canva. Teachers are going to be doing that at the end of the year project. I think we're all going to be doing this for our next project. Pretty cool.
I love that. So we've heard you can use Canva in elementary, middle school. Rob, building off that, what about high school and beyond? Like, think about how it's changing student engagement, encouragement, deeper learning in those deeper levels.
You know, I love this morning's keynote, and I also went and listened to John Batiste. If you guys, how many of you listened to him today?
Oh, John's amazing.
He said a term, expression, that I just keep thinking about as I've navigated my day listening to things. And whenever I think about student engagement with Canva, especially at the high school level, I think about a student's ability to express themselves and who they are as a person, especially whenever I think about, we have a virtual school and many of those kids, they didn't fit the mold to be able to be in a brick and mortar. And so for them to be able to create content to express themselves with, I think if you were to ask any kid today, what do they want to be? It's a creator. And I think expression so much in our life has been lost, because if you look at our kids post pandemic, I would say relevance has been lost somewhat. And so when you think about a kid expressing themselves, they're going to own it and it's going to have high relevance. My daughters, they've used Canva while they were in high school. My youngest, she's now a para at one of my elementary schools. She's in the para to teacher program. And so she's been able to use Canva and she shares with me all the time. But my oldest daughter, she now works at Gallup in a research firm. And recently she shared with me all the training materials that she created in Canva. And so it's amazing to see that journey go back and forth. I have one more story too. We started a micro school this last year. It's a K-6 vertical school. So 20 kids, K through 6 in one classroom. So I got to start this. This last week I was in the classroom with these kids and they were creating a script. They have a project. The start of their day is core. The second half of the day is project-based learning. So they were developing a product and they had to create a script to reach out to a company cold call to ask them to help them. And so this group of kids, there was a third grader, a fourth grader, working with a kindergarten student to create a script for a robot. They used Magic Write to create that script. The first company they called Deloitte turned them down.
Oh. I
know, right? But then the second company that they call Groover Labs is going to come in 2 weeks and help them create that robot. I think of the relevance of that process and the tools that they use Canva to create the prototype of the robot and everything. They're going to be able to sell that piece. And it's an amazing experience for those kids. I can't imagine doing those tasks as an elementary student.
That is unbelievable. And one of the key takeaways here is, Harmony's 8-year-old son, my 14-year-old son, Rob's college kids. It really extends through on the learning experience. I actually am a mentor at the Foster School of Business, go University of Washington back there in the corner. And I interview about 3 to 4 students every single quarter. And I always ask them one question at the end. Do you use Canva? And when did you learn it? And every student, and these are postgraduate students, every student, absolutely I use Canva every single day and I learned it in high school. And so it's actually a tool that they can actually use whether they're going into the workforce, into college, and that is what I truly love about some of the examples is it's going to extend. You're going to learn what you can learn and consume as an 8-year-old. You maybe get a little bit better as a 14-year-old, get a little better as a 17, 18. And then with Rob's daughter in the workforce, she's using it. I think, Rob, she won an award, right? I saw that on LinkedIn the other day.
awesome.
She won Rookie of the Year for all of Gallup.
Unbelievable. And so when we think about the tools we're deploying in the classroom, that's what's so important, right? We're not just giving them, and I'm not here to pick on learning management systems. I know they have a place, but like when they graduate and they go to college, they may just switch learning management systems. And when they go to the workforce, it doesn't really exist, right? It's like, how can we create tools? And that's what I love about what we're doing here at Canva is making sure that it's capable and it actually can learn and grow. So really love those examples. Now, I mean, to close out the questions here, and I'm going to use the term district-wide, but really, like as you've heard here today, large districts operate like a large university. They operate like a large enterprise. How are you using this district-wide adoption of Canva to really think through the skills and what students and teachers, and talk me through that a little bit, Rob?
I would say, I think for our district, it's helped us to think about kids being curious and even our teachers being curious. I think that's a skill that we don't talk about enough is curiosity. Curiosity of what's inside of that lesson plan and what might that kid curate, right? Or what might that teacher generate for their students' experience for them to know how to learn. Maybe it's not the same book every time. Maybe it is. Maybe it's how they deliver a different piece of work. Whenever I think about public education, I think we need to tell our story. And through these types of tools that boost creativity and cause curiosity to happen, I think is how public education endures this.
Love that. Love that. Harmony, what about you?
I'd echo that. It's visual storytelling, right?
Yeah.
And this is the medium in which the everyday person absorbs information the best, right? And it's on that small little mobile phone as well, right? And Canva mobile app works great, by the way. But that visual storytelling, this is what people can hold on to. And how do we give our children the skills for that? And honestly, with the budget, to your question about budget earlier, with this free Canva for EDU resource, I can afford that in a public school district, number one. And then number two, what I'm also providing is I'm providing that 4-year-old through the 18-year-old that we serve access on the ready to industry standard tools that will continue when they leave us as 18-year-olds. That's pretty phenomenal.
It's unbelievable. That is amazing. Now, we have about 2 minutes left, so I'm going to do something a little wild and crazy here. I'm going to open up to the audience. Does anybody have a question for myself, Rob, Harmony? Don't be shy. We've got 2 minutes left, so one question. Anybody, raise your hand. Come on, don't be shy. Oh, I could pick on somebody. Oh, question over here in the front row. Oh, a question for Harmony.
Okay, so yeah, I've got
Are the first 4 babies all boys?
Boy, girl, boy, boy. So my little sweetheart in the middle can hold her own just fine.
Awesome. That was a quick question. Is there anybody else with any other dying questions they would love to? Oh, yes. And I'll repeat the question. Love it. So we've got a 12th grade English teacher, teaches journalism. What advice can she give her teachers to open up AI and some of these more accessible tools that may be seen as cheating or writing and taking away the learning? I'd love, either one of you can take the...
So I would say there's a process of teaching a teacher how to create a lesson for a student that is then in turn has the ability for you to check for understanding that isn't the way that we used to do it. And there's a process of working through that, whether that's ELA, whether that's an essay for social studies. But I think that critical skill that you have, making it personal to the kid, and then reaffirming that checks for understanding, and that could be a face-to-face checks for understanding, right? I think that will help alleviate some of that. It's creating the lesson that is AI-proof, right? And I think that's for all of our kids, we need to do that.
And I'll give one personal example. One of my son's best friend's mother is actually the head of English at our high school. And she came to me and was like, I am not rolling out AI. I'm not doing anything. And so we sat down and chatted about a lesson that she could do. And what she did was she took pen and pencil to start, and she had them write a paragraph. She had them type it into Magic Write. And then they used the different elements to make it more professional, more fun. So it was a learning exercise that translated from a pen and pencil onto the computer. And that was one simple activity that came to mind, but I wanted to give it to the professionals here. So I thank you all. We are up on time. I hope you guys enjoy Create. If you have questions, please find the lovely individuals in the Canva Create t-shirts. We're here for your help. Thank you guys. Enjoy.